Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for week 2 of Dana White Contender Series, and I actually like this slate of fights this week. I feel like there's going to be some finishes, there's some pretty high level fighters, and it's going to be a fun fight card to watch. So, excited to bet on it and excited to break it down here for this card. So, just right before we get the video started, hit the like button on this video. If you do want access to earlier written analysis and predictions for Dana White Contender Series on top of bets, then go to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. Currently, I do have 2 bets for this card, so go check those out. We're coming off a slightly profitable week on the UFC and on PFL, but we did lose money on the first week of Contender Series, so trying to bounce back off that. But yeah, man, let's get in this first fight of the night because I think it's actually a really good fight between Billy Brand and Cody Hayden, or Cody Haddon. Both these guys, they're bantamweights, and I think that they could be in the UFC eventually, regardless if it's going to be Tuesday or not. But Billy Brand, he's 28 years old. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Kind of likes to play mind games, trash talking there. Even outside the cage, you see him doing a lot of trash talking. But 5-1, and his one loss was to Peyton Talbot, and his last fight he went in there, he beat a 3-0 fighter. He's won 4 fights in a row, so he should be ready to go. He's been fighting in a good promotion as well with A1 Combat. I actually really like that promotion. Shout out to Uriah Faber. But Billy Brand, you look at him, he has real slick stand-up. He cuts angles well, really good footwork, and has fast hands. And he likes to hold his hands low, so it's kind of hard to see it when he's going to throw his jab or straight punches out there, and you'll kind of try to angle off with check hooks. But he is hittable due to that, and I kind of worry about that because Cody is also a very fast guy that can close the gap and throw nice punch combinations. And Billy relies a lot on his speed, and I feel like maybe he's going to be a little bit hittable in this matchup potentially. But even on the inside, you could see that Muay Thai background in Billy Brand come out. You know, he's throwing the elbows, he's throwing knees, and he's pretty solid on the inside as well. He was actually piecing up Peyton Talbot for portions of their fight, but he got tired. He stopped moving as much, and his head movement is okay, but he started to get hit more and more often, and then ended up, it was kind of a mercy stoppage in the 3rd round, but his corner threw in the towel, and you know, he was still standing, but he was just taking a ton of damage. But, you know, Brand will mix it up. He likes to clinch guys against the fence, but he doesn't really, to me, look super hard to get takedowns. It's more like if they're there, he'll take them, but he's not necessarily like, even when he's pushing you against the fence, it's more just control. But I haven't really seen too much grappling from Brand, you know, him on top or on his back, really. But I do think he's a good striker, and he's pretty impressive as well. He doesn't have any submission wins, so he's not a big threat on the ground, though, I don't think. But his opponent, Cody Haddon, he is fighting for the first time in the United States. It's going to be his first fight that's outside of Australia. He's a little younger. He's 25, and he's 6-1. He recently just won the belt in Hex Fighting Promotion, which is a pretty good promotion over there in Australia. And he's finished all 11 of the fighters he's beaten in his career, amateur and pro. So I'm sure he's confident he's going to go in there, get another finish, and earn a contract. But Cody, he's a striker. On the feet, he brings solid forward pressure. He has good lead hand feints and nice hand combinations. His leg kicks are good, and he's pretty skillful. He'll go to the body as well, but I would say that this fight early on, he could struggle a little bit with the way that Billy Brand is really diligent about attacking the legs, attacking the body, moving, and it could make it a little bit difficult for Haddon to get going early. But I think once he starts to get on the inside and Brand's movement slows down like it did in the Talbot fight, Cody's going to have a lot of success throwing those punch combinations and just having the better boxing. But his takedown defense is a little questionable, but he's just a really good scrambler, man. I mean, you saw in his fight with Steve Erceg, he survived some really bad positions in that fight, but he was also able to win scrambles, get on top and almost submit Ursig as well. So I feel like on the ground, Haddon has better grappling, and maybe Brand's a little bit better wrestler, but I don't think he wants to scramble and get into that type of fight with Cody Haddon. But Haddon showed good cardio in that fight as well. Round 3 turned into a war in his fight with Ursig. So that's kind of what I expect this fight to be. I expect this fight to devolve into a sloppy war pretty quickly. Cody Haddon's going to come forward and walk Brand down, and I think he's going to have to take some shots early, but I see him eating those shots, then landing his own heat, and I don't think Brand is going to like getting hit by those combinations, especially the body punches. I think that the constant pressure from Haddon is going to add up, make Brand want to shoot or try to cage push, which he could be successful for in moments, but I see Haddon, like I said, as the better grappler, and ultimately I think Haddon could win some scrambles, end up on top, and kind of take over. Even if it stays all stand-up, I think that Haddon is going to get past that jab and start to go to work with his hand combos on the inside. And Brand is incredibly durable, so I think a third-round finish from Haddon could maybe have some sneaky value, but ultimately, I kind of expect this fight to hit the scorecards, and maybe it could be a little bit closer. It just depends on how fast Brand's cardio is going to zap when he's moving and kicking like that, and Hammond's pressuring him. If he can keep it up for 2 rounds, then maybe he could squeak the decision, but I just kind of have the inclination that he's going to slow down a little bit faster than that. Hammond's going to have the bigger moments in round 2, kind of steal that round and then run away with the third, even if he does lose a close first round. But both these guys are beasts. They're high level, so it's kind of a shame that they're going to be meeting on the Contender Series. But I'm going to be going with Cody Haddon in this matchup here on the first fight of the night. And continuing through the card, we got a guy that's coming back to the Contender Series, which is a few guys on this card have already fought on the Contender Series once before, and Torres Finney is one of those guys. He went in there last year. He fought a decent fighter as well, a good grappler, was able to out-grapple him and then submit him in the second round. So I thought it was a contract-worthy performance, but Dana White didn't give him the contract, and now he's back again to kind of get what I believe was earned the last time he fought, but 8-0, and he's won 13 fights in a row. He's never lost an MMA fight, so obviously he has some hype, and he's been backing it up, but he's fighting Cam Roston, who, an Australian guy. There's quite a few Australians on this card, and 29 years old. He's 8-2, and at his first fight 10 years ago, so he's had a long time to kind of try to hone his craft. As far as level of opposition goes, he's beaten really low-level opposition to me. He hasn't beaten any fighters that have had winning records, but he is tall, long, lanky, and the stand-up, I would say he isn't the greatest, but he tries to catch guys with 2-3s or 3-2s. I would say he's hittable himself, but his length helps him out a lot on the feet. And, I feel like he doesn't have that great elite power. I think his power is good, but it's not necessarily like anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Finney's going to be able to eat the shots. Roston does have good stand-up pedigree, I would say, because he did, I believe, win some of those kickboxing tournaments that go down over there in Australia, but I just feel like as far as his full MMA game, I'm just not too sure. I mean, I think he's more technical on the feet, but he leaves openings, and he struggled in his one fight when he fought a fighter that was kind of similar to Torres Finney, a short, compact wrestler. He got taken down, and then he got overhanded and knocked out in the first round. So I feel like Finney could kind of implement that game plan. Finney's a real powerful guy. His last fight, he got a highlight reel knockout with a big overhand, and he normally tends to grind a victory, use his wrestling, and that's what he did his first time on the Contender Series versus Yuri Panfrov. He got some big slams, kind of wore on him. He did have to survive some bad moments on the feet, and maybe the same will happen here, but he did that and then broke his opponent and submitted him. And I kind of feel like in this one, though, it's a good matchup for him, and I see him going out there and getting that first round knockout. So Roston, I mean, he just has not been very active, and I wasn't super impressed overall with what I saw from him. I know that he's a decent striker, but I just don't have faith he's going to stop these takedowns, and I think Finney can, if he feints a takedown and comes over the top with a big overhand like he did his last fight, get another knockout in this matchup early, potentially. So give me Torres, Finney to win this one and earn his contract this time. And up next here we got Cortavius Romious, who's coming back for the second time, taking on Michael Emperado. This is another one where I kind of have a pretty heavy lean towards one side, which is the Cortavius Romious side. Michael Emperado, 34 years old. He's fighting out of Canada, and he's been fighting for a long time, man. I mean, he had his first MMA fight in 2010, so almost 15 years, and he's had some big wins, and he's fought a lot of high-level competition. You see his record, 12-6. It's not a pretty record, but a lot of those losses were to guys that made it to the UFC and outside of his natural weight class, which in this fight he's fighting at 135, which is good for him. He had some losses like to Mike Malott, to Julio Arce, and some of these other guys that were at 145 or even higher weights. So I feel like 135 suits Emperado a lot better. He just got a 52-second submission win over Ricky Bandejas, who we've seen him knock out James Gallagher and get some pretty good highlight reel knockouts over there in Bellator. But Emperado, you know, normally when he wins, he looks excellent. He has 9 first-round finishes out of his 12 wins. And in fights that go past the first round, he's only 3-4. So if he can't run you over, he usually isn't the safest pick, you know. But Emperado, he's quick on the feet, you know, good footwork. He'll cut angles and try to be evasive. And then you'll close the gap with straight shots. He does have fast hands and fast level changes, so he does a decent job of kind of getting guys to think he's going to shoot, then coming with a big shot with the hands over the top and then level changing right under it, or pull countering as well. And his wrestling timing is good, but I feel like Romious is going to be probably too good to, with his wrestling defense, to take down, and I feel like Romious could take down Emperado whenever he wants. On top, Emperado is aggressive. He has a killer guillotine, and he's really fast with his transitions. I feel like he has okay top control, but he will sacrifice position for submissions, and I think he believes too much in his scrambles off of his back, and sometimes he could just be held down. Like, he had a fight with Musa Tolliver where it went to split decision, and he won because he was just being active off of his back, but Tolliver was taking him down, and he was accepting the takedown, and I think a better opponent would have definitely beaten him that night. So Emperado does have good leg attacks, and he'll try to create scrambles to get on top if you take him down, but I feel like Romious has the ability to take him down and control him if he wants to, and the ability to knock him out on the feet. So when you look at Romious in this one, he's the younger fighter. He's more athletic. He's more durable, I would say. But he hasn't fought very many good opponents, so he has something to prove here. In his first fight on Contender Series, it couldn't have gotten much worse for him. He went in there, got knocked out in 29 seconds, and came back on a 50-second win over a 15-28 journeyman at 160 pounds. So that was kind of a nothing fight to just kind of stay active, I guess, to get back into this opportunity. And one thing I'm a little bit worried about is, you know, he weighed in 158.6 for his last fight. So he's obviously a big guy, and a lot of his fights haven't been at bantamweight. And he's 1-2 at bantamweight in his career, and he's missed weight for that division before. So it could not be, you know, the most optimal weight class for him potentially, but hopefully he cuts weight properly and shows up good. But I feel like he's really wild on the feet. Like, he has fast hands and kind of long arms for his height and will just come forward and try to make it a war. And I feel like in this one, that could be a successful strategy because we've seen Emperado knocked out early a couple times. He's not necessarily the most durable guy, and I think Cortavius could overwhelm him. But we saw in his last fight, that's how he got caught and knocked out. So, or not his last fight, but his last Contender Series fight. But I don't think Emperado is necessarily going to have that type of power. But when you get in that type of barroom brawl type of fight, anything can happen. I do kind of feel like Cortavius is going to run him over and knock him out in the first round. But you look at Cortavius, most of his wins are he has good wrestling. He'll get you to the ground. He has good back takes. He likes to attack that armbar when you try to kind of shuck him off the back. And he's gotten quite a few finishes with submissions. I feel like in this fight, obviously he has a submission threat that he's fighting against, but it's a guy that likes being on his back or will play off his back, and he could just control Emperado and win the fight that way too, I believe. But I kind of have a feeling that Romious is going to go out there do a similar thing that he did his last fight, but this time, instead of being the guy getting knocked out, he's going to be the guy doing the knocking out. So give me Romious be a first-round knockout in this fight, and I think he's going to get this victory here. I just feel like Emperado, he's a decent grappler, and maybe he could go out there and get that quick first-round sub or first-round knockout because Romious is reckless. But if he can't do that, I don't see him winning this fight. I think Romious will be able to be better everywhere. He can maintain his gas tank better, even pushing a crazy pace. And Emperado will accept bad positions, kind of hoping that something good will come out of it. And if Romious just fights smart, he'll get the win. So Romious is the prediction for me, and I'm going to say he wins in the first round by knockout. And so the next fight we have on the card, I actually, I don't really like this fight. I feel like it's going to be a boring decision, but I do see it as kind of a one-sided fight. Rizvan Kuniev, technically, he's won 18 fights in a row. If you look back to his amateur record as well, he did get a no contest against Hayden Ferreira, and he failed for like 4 different anabolic steroids. So he won that fight, and then Ferreira went on to win PFL, and now he's fighting Francis Ngannou. So that's a great win, but how much of it was enhanced by what he was doing? And he was on the Contender Series once already as well, Kuniev, and had a good win against Edivon Santos. I believe he won via decision, or maybe it was a finish in the later rounds, but either way, he didn't earn the contract. So now he's coming back after 1 year, 4 months away from that suspension, and I guess PFL cut him after that because obviously he's on the open market and the UFC is trying to see if they want to sign him here. And if he performs well and looks like he always has, he's going to be a top 10 heavyweight. But maybe those steroids played a big factor. We're going to have to see. But taking on Hugo Cunha, who's coming in this fight with some momentum. He won the LFA title his last fight, but he has a lot less fights than his opponent. And I feel like he has good potential, but he's still really, really raw as a fighter. And he has gone 1-0 against Russians, though. He went to Russia and beat a Russian fighter, so maybe that'll give him some confidence. But you look at how these guys match up. I mean, Hugo on the feet, he is fast. I will say that. And he moves well. He's tall and rangy, so I feel like he has an ability to become a decent striker, but he's just so tentative. He doesn't really do anything, and he just kind of stands at distance, just feinting and waiting for something to happen. And his speed does make him a unique heavyweight because if guys just sit in the pocket with him, he will throw some heat. And you could tell he's a fast guy. He also has a good single leg. And I think he's like a wrestling champion. But it's just he doesn't do a lot. And even if you look at his fight with like Eduardo Neves, horrible fight IQ in that one, man. It's like he's facing a guy that's a good striker. He doesn't even try to take him down. You know, he gets dropped and reverses his opponent, submits him, or TKOs him, which is how he won. But it's like, why weren't you trying to go for takedowns? You clearly had a big advantage on the feet. You waited until you got dropped to reverse and finish the fight. But his cardio did look pretty good in that fight, I guess I would say, but it's just, I feel like it's kind of difficult for him to be able to beat Kuniev here. I mean, Kuniev looks comfortable on the feet, doesn't have great striking, but he'll pressure well, he cuts the cage off well, makes it look small. He will finish combos with nice leg kicks, and he has decent hands. I feel like he could really dominate the stand-up, and his takedown defense is really good. He's also super strong, and he can kind of bully you on the ground. He did get swept in his Contender Series fight where Santos was able to use a Kimura to sweep him, but couldn't really control Kuniev, and Kuniev got up right away. And his cardio is good, and he pushes the pace. But it's just that is what I'm a little bit worried about. I feel like he's still going to have the skills in terms of the wrestling. He's going to have the striking. But is he going to be able to maintain his cardio like he has in other fights? And he's still going to have that granite chin because Kuniev also has a really good chin. So if he doesn't have those things, then maybe it could become interesting. But ultimately, unless Kuniev can sweep him and get on top in open space with time to work or like pulls the armbar out of his ass from full guard, there's just not very many ways for him to win this fight. Kuniev is that big of a favorite for a reason. If there wasn't the steroid issues going on, I think he would be an even bigger favorite. So I'm going with Kuniev here, but I think he's going to win via decision and kind of a boring fight. And even having said that, though, I do think that Dana White's probably going to still give him a contract because, man, he's probably one of the best 15 heavyweights in the world at this point, and we're just going to have to see if he still is at that level after the suspension. But main event, Pat Pitlick, he's taking on Andreas Gustafson. Incredible fight, man. Just amazing fight right here. Gustafson, he's a little older at 33 for Contender Series, and then Pitlick is 35, so both these guys have kind of seen it, been in some wars. Gustafson, 10-2 overall. Really fun style. His last fight, he got a 10-second knockout. And both of his losses were split decisions. Or I think one was a split decision, one was a majority decision. So his losses also were really close losses. He has 10 amateur fights where he actually beat some good amateur fighters, like Alexander Lindgren. He beat Dominic Humber, Christian Leroy Duncan, Joseph Lociano. All these guys have became pros and have winning records right now, and obviously CLD's in the UFC. And Pat Pitlick, he 35-year-old Canadian. He's looked really good recently. Came back, got a fast knockout win over Ryan Leniger, who's a good fighter. And all 9 of Pitlick's wins are knockouts, so clearly you could see Pat Pitlick is a powerful guy and a good striker, and that makes him really live in this matchup. I think this fight's just going to be a war, man. I mean, you look at Andreas Gustafson, and he has super heavy hands. That's clearly apparent. I mean, he got a knockdown with the first, or a knockout with the first punch that he threw in his last fight. And you've seen in a lot of his fights, when he turns up and throws those combinations on the inside, he's throwing with heat. He's pretty accurate. I actually like his punch variation, uppercuts, overhands, hooks, he'll mix in elbows, good knees. I think he's like a really good inside fighter, but he's had fights like where at distance, he's just eating punches to close the gap or eating kicks, and he's getting cut open and going to war with guys that don't have the greatest record, but his chin is just incredible, man. I mean, this guy can just take a shot like it's nothing and just keep coming forward. His fight with Tommy, I believe, a guy that he didn't have the best record. It's on YouTube, but he got cut open so bad, and it's like he had no reaction. He's coming forward like nothing happened, and the guy's a killer, man. But his grappling is average. I would say he has heavy ground and pound and good wrestling. And if he can get on top of Pitlick, I think he could really do damage and dominate the fight. We saw Pitlick get submitted by Jake Lindsay, who's kind of a journeyman, and didn't look good on the ground in that one. But I did hear he had some injuries going into that fight, which kind of made that performance what it was. but I think if Gustafson gets Pitlick on the ground, he could maybe pound him out of there. But man, Gustafson, eventually you'd think that chin is going to crack it. Pitlick could be one of those guys that could end up touching that chin and getting him out of there. And Pitlick is the better distance striker, and maybe he could catch Gustafson and knock him out. But from what I've seen, man, this guy's chin is just pure granite, and I just don't think he's going to get KO'd. I think he's going to be able to eat these big shots and probably dog it out. But Pitlick, really nice uppercuts, straight punches, good hands. You could tell his kicks are decent too. His footwork is pretty good. And he's going to be just trying to catch Gustafson with these big punches as he's coming in. And I think he's live, obviously, because he could knock him out and he's the more technical striker. But he just has been so inactive, man. I mean, since 2019, he's fought 3 times. And he hasn't fought since 2024, I believe. Like, he just came back, but yeah, I said 2024, my bad, but he did fight 2024, but before that, he hadn't fought in a long time, so it's just his inactivity, and I just don't know exactly, like, what he's going to look like, so I just think that, man, I feel like Gustafson is probably going to be able to get this victory here and kind of win it on the scorecards or by second, third round finish. But this is my least confident pick on the card. But I'm going to go with Gustafson to get the win. So watching, guys, there you have it. Full card breakdown predictions video for Dana White Contender Series 2024 Week 2. As far as my most confident pick on this card, I'm going to go with Rizvan Kuniev. And for the parlay of the week that I'll give you guys this week, I'll do a parlay of the week of Torres, Finney, Cortavius, Romious, and Rizvan Kuniev. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Come check out the live stream tomorrow. We are going to be streaming live for these fights, and we'll have different opinions on there, giving you guys some fresh eyes on the card, some fresh perspective, maybe some different bets, and I'll give you kind of my leans on some props. There's no props out yet. Maybe I'll find a couple bets there and, be able to get some nice plus numbers for you guys and win some money on a Tuesday night. So come check that out. Hit the like button on this video. Thanks for watching. And going to be putting out my UFC predictions soon this week. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.